The Where Our Minds Wander podcast may contain sensitive content and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow wanderers, to the places our minds wander.
The house at the end of the dirt road, where disembodied voices whisper and strange sounds make the living shiver.
Where shadows lurk at the edge of the woods, just outside your back door. And mysterious lights speed beyond reason across the clear night sky.
Odd events throughout time that lead you down the rabbit hole.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Beth.
And this is Where Our Minds Wander. Hello and welcome to Where Our Minds Wander, all you fellow wanderers. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone.
Before we get started with tonight's episode, we'd like to thank all of you fellow wanderers out there that left us a comment and a review on both Apple Podcast and Spotify. It really means a lot to us, and hopefully it helps us move up the list so we get discovered a little bit more by new people.
Yes, thank you for that very much.
Yeah, it really helps us out quite a bit. And speaking about helping us out quite a bit, we bought a new Crosstrek Wilderness this week so we could go camping and metal detecting out in the woods.
We did.
Without getting our other car stuck.
Yes. I've named her Betty, by the way.
What are you talking about? You named her Betty.
I just didn't tell you.
Really? So you've been secretly driving around in it and calling her Betty?
Well, yeah. I mean, look at her. She looks like a Betty. She's all fancy.
Huh. So you've been keeping this from me. You've just been sitting over there quietly, probably, having a little time of your life in your head, thinking, he doesn't even know I called her Betty.
Well, I just told you, so now you know.
Yeah, now I know. Well, thanks for telling me while we're recording.
This might become a new thing for me, dropping information on you while we're recording.
Yeah. It might work out well for you.
Or
and then again, it might not.
It might not.
But tell you the truth, I don't really care because I've never named any of my cars. I mean, I have a personal connection with them. I just never felt the need to name them. I know a lot of people do, but I'm just not one of those people.
Well, I am, and her name is Betty.
Well, nice. I guess it seems fitting. Well, I don't know what else to say other than, I'm glad we're going camping and spending 2 days in a tent together with you, knowing that you just went behind my back and named our car Betty.
I think we're going to have a great time camping, actually. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It should be.
Yeah. And by the time they hear this, we'll have gone and come back, so they'll have to wait another week to hear how our camping trip went.
Well, 2 of us are going in. I don't know, both of us are coming back.
Me and Betty will.
It's really nice. Well, I guess that's enough of that.
We decided to switch things up a little bit this week because you're doing your story first, aren't you?
Yeah, because if you don't switch things up once in a while, things get stale.
Right, we don't want that.
No, we don't. And this is a good start.
Okay, so go ahead. Why don't you get started?
So all you fellow wanderers, sit back, get comfy, and let's get into tonight's stories. The town of Belmez de la Moraleda in southern Spain is quite pretty, with hundreds of whitewashed buildings with tiled roofs nestled in a valley and medieval ruins perched on a hill. The area is known for its olives and vineyards. The population in 2024 was just over 1,500 people, so it's a small town that welcomes tourists looking for olive oil and good wine. But in 1972, People began flocking to the town for a different reason, a completely unexplained paranormal one. In August of 1971, Maria Gomez Pereira was having a normal day. But as Maria began preparing some peppers, she glanced down at her concrete kitchen floor, where she noticed an odd stain. Thinking her husband Juan had spilled something and not really cleaned it up very well, Maria got down on her hands and knees and began to scrub. She tried everything, even bleach, but the stain just wouldn't go away. Maria had done the best that she could, but she had no choice except to give up. The next day, Maria looked at the stain, and her heart filled with fear. The stain had changed and moved slightly, and it looked just like a man's face staring back at her. Now, this wasn't a case of pareidolia, where people's brains make sense of random shapes so that they see something recognizable. This wasn't like seeing a bunny in a cloud or the face of Jesus on a piece of toast. It was an actual, unmistakable face, almost as if it had been sketched onto the floor with charcoal. Well, Maria wasn't having anything that spooky on her floor, staring up at her. So she brought out every cleaning supply that she could think of and tried to scrub it off once and for all. Hours later, with the face still peering stubbornly back at her, Maria showed her husband Juan and their son Miguel. She begged the men to do something about the face on the floor. So Miguel grabbed a pickaxe and started hacking at the tile, breaking it into pieces. Once all the pieces were removed, Juan mixed new concrete and repaired the missing section. A whole week went by, and Maria's floor seemed to be fine. But then the face came back. Not knowing what to do, the family removed the tile all in one piece and hung it on the wall, replacing the broken floor one more time. Well, that may or may not have been the right thing to do, because soon after, dozens of faces appeared, all over her kitchen floor. Some were male, some were female, some were smiling, and some were screaming. But as you can probably imagine, all of them were creepy and terrifying, like the second male face that appeared, who seemed to be in agony and resembled a Byzantine monk. At this point, the neighbors had heard about Maria's floor of faces, and they started coming by to see for themselves. Many of them felt as if the house had been cursed by the devil, while others thought it was ghosts trying to communicate. As soon as one face faded away, another different face would take its place. No two faces were alike, and no single face appeared more than once. Word got out, and suddenly scientists, paranormal investigators, and even the government were coming to see Maria's floor. Holy water was sprinkled on it. Geiger counters were used to search for radioactivity. Mediums attempted to speak to the alleged spirits. Everyone used the tools of their trade to try and figure it all out. Eventually, even the mayor of Belmez stepped in. He figured that he'd be able to come up with a rational explanation that would put both the Pereiras and the entire town at ease. According to Encyclopedia.com, the mayor asked the family if he could have part of their floor dug up, just to see what was underneath it. No one, especially the mayor, expected to find what they did. 6 feet under the kitchen floor were remnants of a cemetery. Countless skeletons were found, many with broken jaws or missing heads. They were spread out underneath the house.
I bet he was not expecting that.
Well, no, it's not something you expect to find when you dig up your kitchen floor.
No.
Analysis of the skeletons dated them to the 13th century. But local historical records gave no clue as to who these people once were or why they were brutally murdered. All of the remains were excavated and reburied in the local cemetery. Maria's floor was now redone completely in fresh new concrete. Now, I would imagine that a lot of the paranormal enthusiasts felt vindicated. Here was a case of spirits who had somehow managed to let their existence be known by essentially painting their faces on the floor over their forgotten remains. Perhaps now these poor souls could be at peace. But unfortunately, that wasn't the outcome that they had hoped for, because the faces came back. In 1972, journalist and professor German D. Argumosa visited the house. He reported that 18 faces currently decorated the kitchen floor. He covered the entire floor with plastic, taping each section down, and still faces disappeared and reemerged beneath the plastic, with no sign that the covering had been tampered with. He also caught some EVPs that he believed were tied to the spirits behind the phenomenon. Throughout all of this, tourists still flocked to Belmez, more than ever before. But they weren't coming for the olive oil in the vineyards. They were coming to see the Belmez Faces. For over 30 years, countless faces appeared and disappeared, and skeptics did their best to debunk it all as a hoax, designed by the Pereiras, to bring in tourism and their own financial gain. Although it has never been confirmed, it was a rumor that the family did charge admission, or at the very least, they accepted donations. So, I don't know, what do all you skeptics out there think? Well, there's the obvious, of course. The Belmez faces, which look like charcoal drawings, were simply painted onto the floor by a member of the Pereira family. Several studies were done by glass and ceramic experts, as well as members of the Society for Psychical Research. They all agreed that lead and chromium were most likely used, although zinc would have also worked. But here's the problem with that. If the family was using lead paint, it would have easily dissolved under the cleaning agents that were applied to the faces. No amount of scrubbing caused the faces to dissolve. And second, the chemical analysis of the faces showed zero traces of paint. So, there's that.
It's not paint.
No, it's not paint. The vice president of the Spanish Society of Parapsychology theorized that the family had used a combination of vinegar and soot and some sort of chemical compound to paint the faces. Now, his theory was never confirmed, as far as I can tell. Although infrared photography revealed that the pigmentation had been added to the faces over time, and that brushstrokes were even visible. But if these faces were being painted by a living person, no one could figure out exactly how and when and why they were doing it or what they were using.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, can you imagine having faces on your floor that just materialized out of nowhere?
And then they disappear and new and different ones take their place.
Right, if they really didn't know about these faces or their origin, and this is true, this really happened, that's totally creepy. I mean, you're walking on faces.
Right.
I don't know what to make of it. Another theory was that Maria was causing the faces to form with her mind. Kind of like poltergeist activity, except instead of objects flying around the room, Maria's subconscious was painting the faces. Now, let's say that theory is even possible, that somehow Maria was causing the faces to manifest through the power of her own mind. Well, Maria and her husband have both passed away. Maria in 2004, and yet new faces continued appearing in their home. Now, of course, skeptics argued that one of their sons was carrying on the legacy. And I tried to find out who currently owns the house, and it appears that it's still in the Pereira family, but that it's also been closed to visitors since Maria's death in 2004. So, interestingly enough, it's been rumored that one of the last images to appear on the floor was one that closely resembled Maria herself. The face appeared just before her death.
That's creepy.
It really is. I can't help but keep saying that. It really is. It's all so creepy.
If it's not a hoax, that's downright terrifying. It's like saying you're next.
Just get the hell out of the house.
Well, yeah. Yikes.
In 2013, the town of Belmez opened an interpretive center where visitors can learn about the Belmez Faces. Now, if you're curious and not faint of heart or prone to nightmares after seeing something really, really creepy, then I can't stress enough to all you wanderers out there that you need to Google the Belmez Faces. They are truly mind-boggling and creepy as anything you can imagine. But in my humble opinion, these are not a case of pareidolia. And if they are elaborate hoax, well, somebody is extremely ambitious and extremely talented to be able to pull something off to this degree. But, I don't know. All you wanderers out there are going to have to decide for yourselves after you go look at these faces online or on our Facebook page.
They are very, very creepy.
Can you imagine you rip up your kitchen floor and they come back?
And then you exhume all of the bodies and rebury them.
And they come back.
And they come back. And then your face ends up on the floor.
Right.
And you pass away.
You know, I'd like to know more about her son, if he had any talent whatsoever, artistic talent, because, you know, that might give us a little bit of a hint whether he did have a hand in this painting of Maria after her death or just before her death.
Right. And if they could see actual brush strokes, but they can't figure out what was possibly used.
Right.
That's very strange, too.
Well, you know, we've watched a lot of shows where they go back and they're able to identify pigments, how they were created by various plants or things within their habitat that they were living in at that time, and they knew what colors were made from what.
Right.
So you think they would have an idea in this?
You would think. It's bizarre.
I guess that's why it's still a mystery.
That pretty much is the definition.
Right. All right. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Hey, did you know? People have been mishearing lyrics for decades. Does Jimi Hendrix really want to be excused before he kisses this guy? Not really. But did you know that misheard lyrics actually have a name? Mondegreens. So in honor of some Mondegreens, we thought we'd play a little game. Can you guess which songs these misheard lyrics come from?
Hold me closer, Tony Danza. There's a bathroom on the right. Big old Jed had a light on.
I've got 2 chickens with parrot eyes. Making carrot biscuits. And there's a wino down the road. I should have stolen Oreos. And lastly, my favorite, no Dukes of Hazzard in the classroom.
But hey, if you're singing your heart out to your favorite classic rock song, belting out a Mondegreen or two, we aren't going to judge you.
Who'da thunk it?
All right, we're back. And for those of you wanderers still listening out there after that middle, well, Beth has an explanation for all these misidentified lyrics at the end of the episode. So you might want to stay tuned for that if we haven't pierced your ears.
or permanently put the wrong lyrics into your head.
Well, I think we're probably all guilty of thinking we know the lyrics to certain songs, and we're really not singing them the right way.
Right.
I mean, it's different if you look at the lyrics as they go by, if you're listening to it on one of your favorite platforms like Spotify or Apple, where it tells you the lyrics as it goes, or even in your car. But back in the day, we used the album. You know, they had the inserts with all the lyrics on them.
Yes. But I've been telling you for years that I always thought it was a bathroom on the right. And you told me you'd never heard of that before.
No.
And when I looked up like the most popular mondegreens, that one was number 2, which means there are thousands of other people that hear there's a bathroom on the right.
Right. And with that said, you've now put an earworm into these people because that's the way they're always going to hear it now.
I know.
Whether they know the correct lyrics or not.
I know. You're welcome.
It's maddening.
It is. Right. I know. Because your daughter, what is it? Stroke me, or whatever. And she always thought it was stupid.
Right.
And now every time I hear that song, that's all I hear. Stupid.
Right.
Well, anyway, I'm going to get to my story now.
Yeah, I think everyone's waiting for that.
Yesteryear Village in Palm Springs, Florida is pretty cool. It's a living history park where historic buildings have all been moved to one spot. The 38 buildings span from 1895 to 1945 and include a general store, blacksmith shop, post office, print shop, jail, schoolhouse, church, and a barber shop. Some of the buildings house museum exhibits. Volunteers dress in period clothing, and you can take part in candle making, quilting, woodworking, and leather making demonstrations. It's a place where history comes alive. There are also a few historic homes. And just like all the other buildings at Yesteryear Village, they were moved, piece by piece, from their original locations to the West Palm Beach location. One of the homes, the Riddle House, seems to have brought some spirits along with it. But to get to the bottom of how and why, we have to start at the beginning. Henry Morgan Flagler of Ohio was the founder of Standard Oil. When he joined forces with Stephen Harkness and John D. Rockefeller, Standard Oil became a huge monopoly. When Flagler's first wife, Mary, contracted tuberculosis, the couple moved to Jacksonville, Florida for the winter, hoping that the warmer climate would cure her. It didn't, and she passed away in 1881. 2 years later, Flagler remarried, and he and his new wife traveled to St. Augustine. Flagler liked it there, but he thought the hotel accommodations weren't really good enough. So he decided to start buying and building hotels. His first was the Ponce de Leon Hotel, followed by the Hotel Ormond, which was north of Daytona. Transportation between the two wasn't so great either, so Flagler decided to build a railroad bridge across the St. Johns River to make travel faster. Next, he built the Alcazar Hotel and purchased the Casa Monica Hotel. The state of Florida wanted the railroad, and they paid Flagler in land for every mile of track he installed. So then he built the 1,100 Royal Poinciana Hotel in Palm Beach, the largest wooden structure in the world, and essentially founded the towns of both Palm Beach and West Palm Beach. 2 years later, he built the Palm Beach Inn, which was later renamed the Breakers. His Florida East Coast Railway now reached as far as Biscayne Bay, and he poured money into building water and power systems and streets. He named the new town Miami. And then he built another huge hotel, the Royal Palm. Meanwhile, he had his second wife declared legally insane and institutionalized, petitioned the state government to allow insanity to be cause for divorce, divorced her, and remarried for a third time. Flagler and his new wife moved into their 60,000 square foot Palm Beach winter mansion, which they named Whitehall. Sometime in 1905, during the heyday of building all his hotels, the construction workers used leftover wood to build a 3-story house on Acacia Street, across from the Woodlawn Cemetery in West Palm Beach. Originally painted in Flagler yellow, Jefferson green, white, and sky blue, locals referred to it as the Painted Lady. Officially, it was known as the Gatekeeper's Cottage because it served as a mortuary, a funeral parlor, and a residence for cemetery workers. They hoped that having workers live across the street would stop the constant problem of grave robbing. According to the lineup.com, the first West Palm Beach city manager and superintendent, Carl Riddle, moved into the house with his family in 1920. As part of his job, or maybe in addition to, Riddle also took on the role as overseer of the Woodlawn Cemetery. Interestingly, Riddle wrote in his personal journals that strange things seemed to happen in the house, and his employees often quit because they were scared. Unfortunately, one of those employees, who was experiencing financial hardships, was able to make his way into the Riddle's attic, where he hung himself. People started talking about the paranormal things happening inside the house. From disembodied voices to the sound of chains being dragged across the floors. Some even claimed to have seen shadow people. The Riddle family moved out by 1935, and the house was used in several different ways over the next 40 years. None of the businesses lasted very long, and allegedly, they all talked about weird things happening in the home that they couldn't explain. It sold again, this time in 1972, for $21,000. Mary Ann Hayes had bought the house, and she turned it into the Flagler Arts Center. By the 1980s, Palm Beach Atlantic University was using the Riddle House as a dormitory. And then the Riddle House sat empty for years. It fell into disrepair and was scheduled for demolition. But then John Riddle stepped in. John was Carl Riddle's nephew, and he petitioned to have the historic house moved to Yesteryear Village. The relocation would cost about $50,000, but instead, remarkably, John managed to find enough volunteers to move the house instead. They obtained a $450,000 grant from the state in order to completely refurbish the inside to look exactly like it did in the 1920s. Today, the Riddle House is painted a pale yellow and dark brown with white trim. It looks like a typical 3-story clapboard farmhouse. If you didn't know it was haunted, would you look at it and think it was anyway? Probably. It just has that look.
Yeah, it does look a bit welcoming but eerie.
Yeah, you can tell there's some spirits hanging out in there. You can just tell by looking.
Yeah, that second floor up to the roof line looks a little ominous.
According to Miami Haunts, there are some generally strange things that happen inside the house, like the lights turning off and on when the house is closed for the night. It's gotten to the point where park security has gone to investigate a few times because they honestly thought trespassers were in the house.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is that you would expect it from a house built during the 20s, right? Old wiring, plumbing, everything like that. But this has been refurbished. It's been gone through completely. So they can't say it's because of some faulty electrical because it's old or anything like that.
Right. Well, some of the other strange things that have happened is that there was a visitor who was there one time having a private tour of the house. And as they were walking up the staircase, a piece of wood flew out from nowhere and hit them in the head. Hopefully it was a small piece of wood. Or there was a maintenance worker who claimed that a ghost attacked him while he was inside the house. Another employee saw what looked like the torso of a mannequin hanging in full view of the attic window. When he went up to the attic to take it down, he discovered that there weren't any mannequins stored in the attic.
That's weird, especially if he didn't know about the supposed person finding their way into the attic and hanging themselves.
Yes.
If he had no knowledge of that, that's truly remarkable.
Yes. And it's more than just general spookiness going on at the Riddle House, too, all of which can be attributed to, they think, 4 different restless spirits. 2 of the spirits, Joseph and Buck, seem to be directly tied to the days when the house was used by cemetery workers. According to the lineup.com, the cemetery workers often ate lunch together on the front porch. Buck, who was one of those workers, was killed during some sort of fight in town, and Buck was allegedly a rather large man. Soon after his death, other employees began to complain about a dark, shadowy figure lurking in the corners of the house. They'd seen the shadow of a large man wandering the grounds around the house, too. And when they heard the disembodied sound of chains being dragged across the floors of the house, they quit.
So, I wonder why they hear the sound of chains. That's kind of odd. What do they use chains for? Why would that be connected to the house? Where did that come from?
The only thing it makes me think of is Scrooge and Marley. And I can't think of the name of the story. It's the famous Christmas story with Scrooge and Marley.
Right. I know what you're talking about.
And Marley had chains wrapped around him, but I don't know what they would use them for in a cemetery.
Perhaps lowering the coffin into the ground? Would they have used chains or ropes?
Well, I thought that too, but then I thought probably ropes.
Yeah, more than likely.
Huh.
That is odd.
Well, then there's Joseph. Joseph might be the spirit of the cemetery worker who took his own life up in the attic. In general, Joseph seems to be more aggressive towards men and has been known to pull hair and to throw objects. And like you had said, he might have been the cause of the mannequin torso that the employee could have sworn they'd seen hanging in the attic window. Although a woman in white has also been seen in that same window. Known as Mary, the woman in white makes herself known quite a bit. I found an excellent article from 2024 in the Palm Beach, Florida Weekly titled The Haunting of Riddle House, in which the house's curator, James Danford, shared some encounters people have had. Apparently, a British man was touring the house one day when he approached Danford to tell him about the lady in the kitchen, who was very angry because she hated the dining room wallpaper. Just 6 months earlier, a self-proclaimed psychic had informed him that there was an angry woman in the house named Mary who was screaming about her hatred for the wallpaper. Apparently, Mary was telling the psychic that the wallpaper wasn't hers and she wanted it taken down.
Well, I gotta say, if you don't get the right wallpaper, it can be hideous.
Well, that's true. And remember, the house was refurbished to look like it was the 1920s.
Right.
But it wasn't necessarily the same wallpaper that had once been in there.
Exactly.
So, something equally as interesting, but maybe a little creepier, was when a young child was visiting the house with his parents, and he insisted on playing alone up in the old nursery. When Danford asked the little boy why he was playing all alone up there, the child replied that he wasn't alone. He was playing with Michael. When Danford asked where Michael was, the little boy, quote, looked at me like I was an idiot and said, "Of course, he's right here." EVPs, caught in the nursery, have sounded like children playing.
That's eerie.
That is eerie.
Now, I can deal with all the adult stuff, but the sound of children playing? Ugh.
Yeah. One of the volunteers, Erica Duff, described her own eerie encounter with Michael. She said she had only been volunteering there for about 3 months when she went up to the nursery alone to get something. At first, she heard a rustling sound, like something small was moving around. But it was a windy day, so she just kind of shrugged it off. As she moved to walk down the stairs, she caught sight of a child with brown hair darting by out of the corner of her eye. From that day forward, she said, she always knocks on the door first and then greets the house when she walks in, letting them know why she's there and that she would prefer not to see any of them.
And you would think that if it's really children there, they might not want to listen to an adult. You know how kids can be. Just defy and go about their business, so.
That's true. And Danford believes that Michael's spirit actually came attached to an object that was brought into the house. It's a cast iron fire truck that sits in the nursery. So that's interesting, too, that they brought a haunted object, possibly, into the haunted house. Danford estimates that he spent over 800 hours in the Riddle House during just 1 year of his 5-year stint as curator. At first, he says, the ghosts seem to be pretty interested in him. But he has never felt threatened, and he believes that, for the most part, the spirits of the Riddle House are happy with him because he has really tried his best to keep the house looking the way it did in the 1920s. Well, except for the dining room wallpaper.
Well, she's just picky.
Right. And if it's something that she really wanted...
Well, yeah, if it's something she picked out herself and had it hung...
Yeah.
I mean, you could see why she might be a little upset.
Yes. But Danford also did say something in the article that I thought was pretty great, and I have some respect for him for saying it. He said in the article, quote, "I'm always the one telling people, don't manufacture things. Enough stuff happens in this house. You don't have to pretend." End quote. I think it'd be great if all haunted places took that stance, and I commend him for saying that. Interestingly, the second Carl Riddle house, a huge Spanish-style villa built in 1925, has also been relocated. Not once, but twice. There's no word on it being haunted, though.
Well, you got to look at it this way. The cemetery workers, they'd work all day, and then they'd break and take their lunch on the front steps. Perhaps something followed them there.
Oh, yeah, there's that, too. That might have an explanation for, or it might be an explanation for the chains. If they put chains around a coffin.
Right. Or it could be the cemetery worker that hung himself in the attic.
He would have done that with rope, though, I would think, not a chain.
That's true.
It's a mystery that we're having trouble figuring out.
Well, I've never seen anybody hang themselves with a chain, but I have with a rope. But it's not out of the realm of possibility that it could happen.
Right.
Especially if it was a small chain. Right?
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Well, if you're interested in visiting the Yesteryear Village, they are open year-round, and they do offer ghost tours.
Yeah, definitely an amazing place. I'm glad that they have moved it and restored it, and now they're making it available for everybody.
Yeah, I think there should be more places like that where historic homes are moved instead of just demolished.
Yeah, living history.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta love it.
Yes. All right, well, before we sign off tonight, we want to do a quick reveal of what songs the Mondegreens were from during our Who'da Thunk It. So if you were guessing as we were doing them, you'll know if you got them right or not. So Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza, of course, is really Hold Me Closer, Tiny Dancer by Elton John. That's an easy one.
Yeah, and you could see where people would make that mistake in thinking it's Tony Danza.
Like Phoebe on Friends.
Right.
There's a Bathroom on the Right is really There's a Bad Moon on the Rise by CCR.
Yep, and that's one you're guilty of.
Yes. This one always stumps me because I always have to listen really hard to remember what they're actually saying. Big Old Jed Had a Light On is actually Big Old Jet Airliner by the Steve Miller Band.
Yeah, I don't see the confusion in that.
Really? I always mishear it every time.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I distinctly hear the word airliner.
You have better ears than the rest of us.
Well, yeah, I've got superior hearing. I can hear, even if you're saying something underneath your breath when I'm walking away, I hear you.
Yeah, you do.
And I come back and call you out on it, don't I?
Yeah, you do. Eddie Money is giving away 2 tickets to Paradise, not 2 chickens with parrot eyes. And Bachman Turner Overdrive is taking care of business, not carrot biscuits. Led Zeppelin isn't singing about winos and Oreos. Robert Plant is really saying, and as we wind on down the road, our shadows taller than our souls. And lastly, Pink Floyd doesn't have anything against the Dukes of Hazzard, as far as I know. They're just asking for no dark sarcasm in the classroom.
That's just too funny.
I know.
Well, perhaps people are listening to these songs out with their friends while they're drinking, and it just becomes embedded in their head, and this is how they've twisted the lyrics.
I know. I've been singing 2 chickens with parrot eyes at you quite a bit.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
Well, I probably won't have to hear any more about it after this episode.
Nope.
It'll be done and over with. Thank God for doing a podcast.
All right, everybody. If you would like to know more about the Belmez Faces or about the Riddle House or anything at Yesteryear Village, you can always check our sources in our show notes for more information.
And with that said, join us again next week for an all-new episode of Where Our Minds Wander.
See you soon. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to traveling with you again to the places where our minds wander.
If you like what you heard, please take a moment and provide us with a 5-star rating and a comment on your favorite listening platform. It really helps us move up the list and become more visible on the podcast charts so new people can find us.
And thank you all for your continued support.
See you next week for an all-new episode.